With the new Grubhub guarantee, get your food.
All right, hello everybody. Let's see, can you hear me out there? Let me know if you can hear me. I'm going to turn down the background music down a little if I can. Maybe I can. Let's see. But yeah, let me know if you're hearing me well out there. I think I'm actually going now. All right, I see a thanks. But can you hear me out there? My software is saying you can. Let me know that you can. Can you hear me out there? I'm not very good at this yet, if you can't tell. Okay. But please, if you can hear me out there, tell me so in the chat. You're quiet and the music is inaudible. Okay, well, let's get rid of that music anyway. But hopefully I'm doing a little bit better now. My audio input says that it's doing pretty well. So yeah, let me know. I'll be monitoring the chat and seeing what's up. But yeah, so hi everybody. It's Drawing a History. Haven't live streamed in a really long time, and I thought, considering a new video was out last week, that this week would be a really good time to do it as well. You know, to kind of catch up, see what's going on, maybe do a little behind the scenes of the latest video and do a little bit of like what's coming up next on the channel. Again, I can't tell how well it's going. And I don't really have that. Hello. Okay, Edward Poland, you're saying hello. Can you hear me well yet? I don't know how it's going right now, so. But yeah, so the latest video came out last week. I'll wait and see as I'm talking. Just tell me how I'm doing. Last video came out last week. Leif Erikson and his crazy Viking family. Oh. We had a little bit of a glitch there for a second. Leif Erikson and his crazy Viking family. Had some great guests in there. I don't know why that's separating a little. But I thought something that we could do is, it sounds good now. There's about a 1 minute delay between me. Okay, yeah, I think that's about right. I don't know how to make that even shorter, but thank you for the heads up on what's going on. So I thought it could be interesting to go through the Leif Erikson video. Considering the Leif Erikson video is actually a video that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I had like different versions of the script for a long time. I was working on it, and then if you've seen the Cold War Berlin video, that came up. And then that had a set deadline to it that couldn't be missed, so that one jumped ahead. And then as soon as I was done with that, it was like back on board with Leif Erikson. Animating itself took almost 2 months to do the animation because I do everything all by myself, but it seems like you guys are really enjoying it. It's already like 6,500 1,000, which doesn't sound like much, but you know what? I've been doing YouTube on different channels for almost 9 years now, and that might be the best start to one of my videos. So I thought what could be interesting is if we go through the video itself, and then we go through the video itself, and then we could see, like, I could stop it as we're going through and tell you what, tell you what went into the different process and whatnot. Also, I could tell you what I'm working on next. I have another video that I'm very, very, very much trying to get done before Christmas. I want to get one more video out, one more animated video out before the end of the year. So before we do anything else, let's just head on into the video itself. Hopefully you can hear the video when, hopefully you can hear the video as I play it. So fingers crossed. Today's world is a pretty divided place, but at Drawn of History, we know that there's one undeniable truth. Toilet paper should be hung over, not under. Show that you're not an uncivilized maniac and get your Right Side of History t-shirt. The first shirt from Drawn of History. Yes, this is real. It comes in white and dark mode, and it really helps the channel. Link down in the description. Now on with the video. So, it's a real t-shirt. I'm actually wearing it right now. This is actually the first prototype of it. I'm wearing this one that's the first prototype, and the image, I was like, the images, wow, really big. So I worked with the Amped Up Learning, which is a company that I'm working with, which is an incredible company because they're like run by 2 teachers. So they make really good apparel, and if you are a teacher, they make like lesson plans and all these different things as well. And I've worked with them before on other projects, and it's just, great to be able to have teachers like working together. So if that's your thing, if you need a cool t-shirt, if you want to support the channel, the link's down over at ampeduplearning.com. It's down in the description of the main video. But let's take a look at the first real scene. Fjordhild, this drinking horn ain't gonna refill itself. More mead. Anyway, kids, where was I?
Why Grandpa came to Iceland.
Yes. Okay, so if you haven't guessed, that adorable voice is my kid. So it was really cool to finally get him into a video, and I like that I got him into a video in a way that like doesn't, show him on the screen, but it was really cool, and he got to go into my recording booth, aka my closet, with all the clothes taken out of it and blankets hung up. And I gotta say, I'm just proud dada, but I think he did a really good job like selling the line. So yeah. And another thing up here with the windows, I know the Vikings wouldn't have windows like that at all, if any. But, how the scene plays out, I got to be able to show, I have to be able to show both what's happening inside the house as well as what's happening outside the house. Yeah. So Grandpa had to come to Iceland because of some killings, and here we are. Who is it now? Fjordhild, the door! It's Eyjolf the Foul. By Odin's beard, what does this Rasraga want? Kids, give Dad a minute. Eyjolf, what is it? 3 of your thralls caused a landslide that destroyed Valthiel's farm. Yeah, well, how do you know they were my thralls? Because they confessed it to me right before I cut off their heads. Kids, I'll be right back. Dad has just got to talk to Eyjolf. Yeah, so this is the first time Eric the Red gets Vikinged. This is the first time Eric the Red gets banished in Iceland. The first time he gets banished from his town, and the second time he gets banished from Iceland itself for 3 years. And there's a little bit more to the situation itself, but yeah, basically he had some thralls, which were kind of like slaves to Vikings, and they created a landslide, and the landslide killed like a neighbor, I think like a neighbor's son, and then it was like an honor type thing, but you don't step up to Eric the Red. So we're going to see in the background what happens as we get introduced to all the kids in the family. As far as animation that I use, I make all of the assets in Photoshop, and then I still just use Premiere for animation. I'm teaching this video has the first instance of me actually using After Effects just for like some map zooms and ins and outs that like if Premiere has to do it, it just makes Premiere's brain fart. But if like you do it in After Effects, it's no problem. I want to teach myself more After Effects, but I have a feeling like I'll always kind of stay with Premiere because After Effects, I think if I learn too much about it, I'm never going to get anything done because I'm going to want to tweak everything. But yeah, so let's take a look at the kids.
I'm gonna be cool like Grandpa Thorvald and get banished for murder when I grow up.
I don't get what's so cool about that.
And that's why I'm named Thorvald after Grandpa. And you're named after the wimpiest part of a tree, Leif.
That's not what Leif means. Flatus, can you back me up here?
I'm going to kill you in your sleep and make a blanket from your skin.
Okay, Flatus. Celestine, what do you think? Celestine, stop being the thoughtful game piece.
So my original concept, even just approaching this video, my original concept was just kind of like, what if, I guess not quite the Eriksons, because it's only Erikson if it's a son, and then it's Eric's daughter if it's a daughter. But like, what if this family was just like a sitcom family and kind of approach it like that as an opening up point? So I think it worked pretty well. Freitas has very quickly become the fan favorite, and you can't blame her. I'll talk more about that later. And then Thorstein, I just figured, okay, let's just make him the goof. But yeah, he is eating what Tafel game pieces. I believe the full name is like Heffentafel, which is like a Viking version of chess, like a kind of a strategic game like that. I actually teach it to, I teach medieval history among other things. So that's one of the games that I teach. So I thought it would be on character for the kind of character I'm presenting, to just kind of make him the moron that just... You know, he's just Thorstein, so. Okay.
All right, family, pack your bags. We're being banished for murder.
There's a little blood on Eric's hands. So if you're ever wondering, like, there's a couple of scenes in the intro there that have never showed up in a Drone of History video. And that's because Drone of History this isn't my first educational channel, and it isn't my first kind of like attempt at animated history. In fact, two of the videos on the channel actually come from my previous page, but there are other ones that like I made them before I really hit upon the Drone of History style, like 100%. So I don't think I want to bring them over yet, but they work really good in the title. And when I was making the title sequence, I need that. Maybe at the start of the new year, I'll update, some of the images in there. But yeah, maybe one time we'll live stream like one of the old kind of videos. Like the animated videos, the early ones from the old channel. All right, let's go. Before you can talk about Leif Erikson and the Norse expansion of North America, you have to talk about the Norse expansion everywhere else. During the Viking Age of the 8th to the 11th century, Norsemen expanded throughout Europe, raiding the British Isles, extorting land in France, becoming super soldiers in Constantinople, and kinda creating Russia. Yeah, little Viking cigarettes and Adidas tracksuit there. I mean, I gotta take my shots. Thank you, Savage Burrito. Thank you for saying that you really like the videos. I'm glad to have you here. You name the place, the Norse were there. This includes Iceland. Described in the Landnámabók, a Viking named Nadod was blown off course and landed there around AD 825. Nadad, we've searched for the source of these smoke plumes, and it's not from people. There's no people here. It's from the cajillion volcanoes on this island. We should call this place Volcano Land. Yeah, but I see some flurries. We should call it Snowland. Snowland? The snow is nothing compared to Norway. Meanwhile, the entire terrain is like a field of sulfuric buttholes. Yeah, Snowland sounds good. Yeah, everybody always makes such a big deal, and we'll touch upon it later in the video, but everybody makes a big deal of the story of like, well, Greenland was really just kind of like a marketing ploy, and we'll naming it that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as we get into it. But like, I mean, I don't know, I kind of think of the defining characteristic of Greenland is like it is so volcanic and like tectonically active that, especially coming from Scandinavia, it's like, okay, really? So like everybody makes fun of Greenland's the sincerity of Greenland's name and not Iceland. So yeah. So
40 years later came a Viking named Floki Vilgethersson who saw a fjord with drift ice in it and said, "Snowland? We should call this Iceland." Am I the only one seeing these volcanoes?
So cool thing about Floki, and Floki comes up like at the very end as well. But I believe this story goes that Raven Floki, as he's called later on in the video in like the epilogue. The story goes he was on his way exploring, and he sent out 3 ravens, and only 1 raven came back. And that's why he's Raven Floki. And then I believe he took his set stoker, which we've seen set stokers later on in the video, and kind of just like threw him overboard and like let him go for a while. I believe this is the story of how they founded Reykjavik. But anyway, it took them forever, like months and months and months. It took them months and months and months to find where his set stoker finally washed up. And where it did was Reykjavik, and that, I believe that's the story of how the city of Reykjavik, the settlement, was founded. So if you're ever looking for the old channel is Mr. Bet's class. Yeah, I did Mr. Bet's class for a really, really long time. I have over 200 videos over there. And the biggest thing that I used to do over there is I used to do musical parody songs. And because of that, because of the musical parody songs, everything always got like copyright claims, so I never made any money on that. And then also B, the audience skewed so much younger than like I always thought it would be. Like I thought it would be maybe like high school. I guess I wasn't realizing how goofy it was. But it usually was more like middle school and elementary school. So I knew I wanted to do more adult humor, history animated videos like this. So I had to think, do I want to do a whole change up over there, or why not? Because like I already on that channel, it's got like 120,000 subscribers. Like I have my plaque up here for it. Yeah, I got my YouTube plaque up here for Mr. Bet's class. And pretty much, for the most part, after I got that, I pretty much stopped uploading there and like jumped into Drawn of History. And I said, you know what? I could try to keep that going there, but like let's leave that open for teachers where they never really have to worry about, is this appropriate or not for my students? And then Drawn of History can be Drawn of History, right? So Drawn of History, like if you're a teacher and you're not watching it before you showed it in a classroom, come on, what's wrong with you? It's more for like lifelong learners, people that are just interested in history, young adults and adults that are interested in history. Okay, let's get back to, am I the only one seeing these volcanoes? Oh, by the way, that is Mount Doom finally exploding in Return of the King. So yeah. Okay, let's go.
And within 100 years, over 50,000 Norsemen would call Iceland their home, which brings us to Thorvald Asvaldsson. Around the year
Grandpa.
960, Thorvald ran into some legal issues in Norway. Thorvald, did you get into a fight recently? King Håkon, I guess you could call it that. And did you do anything rash? Well, there might have been some killings, but you don't have to make a whole thing over it. Actually, yes, we do. That's what a thing is. It's a Viking assembly to decide legal disputes.
So yeah, one of the best teachers I ever met in my life. One of the things that she would always do in students' writings is if they wrote thing, she would always push them to be more specific, because the thing is like a Viking assembly. It's what it says right here. That's what the word literally means. And unless you're talking about Viking assemblies, there's always a better word to use. So especially in a video about Vikings, how could I not like finally get that in there? I in one of my videos that this is Vikings. Notice also in the back, I think this is Hakon the Good, Hakon the Great. I forget what the superlative is for him. But yeah. And then this originally got me thinking about getting Jack Rackham in, because he did a much later Hakon. And then you have in the background, you have a teenage version of a very big character coming up. You can see him in the background over there.
You've had one, and you've been banished. So get out. Exiled from his native Norway, Thorvald set sail for Iceland, accompanied by his son, Eric the Red.
Gee, Dad, when I grow up, do you think I could be banished for murder too?
Eric, I think you can be anything you want to be.
Dad, is there a reason we're going to Iceland and none of the other much more inhabitable regions we Norse have spread to?
Shut up, boy. Just shut up.
Yeah, and so much of this, as we're actually going to address it in a second, like, so much of this is unknown. So a lot of times, a lot of these kind of jokes came from questions that I was asking myself and wasn't able to find the research from, just because primary sources from the time period are so hard. So I'm like, why did they go to Greenland? Because really at this point, they knew Greenland existed, but the Vikings, the Norse, had never actually settled there. There had been one settlement that lasted a little while until it completely turned upon itself and like everybody killed each other. So why? No, no, they're going to Iceland right now. But yeah, later on when Eric goes to Greenland, it's like, why are we going out there? Like, why aren't we going to mainland Europe? Why aren't we going to one of these other places that we've stormed into? I mean, we're the Vikings. That's what we do. We Viking. That's what makes a Viking a Viking. Why are we going out to Iceland? But you know what? That's how it happened. So let's go to part 2. Chapter 2, Eric the Red.
Now's a good time to address that historians don't know many specifics about Eric the Red, his family, and this part of Norse history because the Norse really didn't write it down. A lot of this chapter in Norse history mainly comes from the saga of the Greenlanders and the saga of Eric the Red, both of which were told orally for hundreds of years, were subject to much political and religious bias, have been translated from their original archaic language, and should in no way be considered an undeniable literal account of what actually happened. Oh, how did these get here?
So yeah, I couldn't resist putting in a little poke in there, just because, you know, the sagas are crazy, and the sagas are often contradictory, and they were just orally passed down forever, and they were changed so much, you know, through the different innocent reiteration as well as, you know, bias. And then like we take that for a grain of salt, yet there's still, you know, there's tons of people around that like whatever it says line for line in some of these texts here, like that's the undeniable truth. And, you know, this is all written down by man. So how can I not take a shot there? And you know what? It doesn't have to just be the Abrahamic religions, but you know, my audience is going to identify mostly with one of these three. So yeah.
So Thorvald and his son, Eric the Red, settled in Hoykatallar, Iceland. Eric would marry Fjolhild and have 4 children: Thorvald, Leif, Thorstein, and Freydis.
So Freydis, there's a good chance Freydis might not be might be have a sister. She might be a sister from another mother. But you know, again, like the writings are scant on that, and plus Freydis rocks.
After being exiled from Hoykatallar, Eric moved his clan to Exerny, but got himself into trouble again. So when you go into Berserker mode, it's important to try to kill multiple people in one shot, because Odin will give you a combo kill bonus.
Hey,
in
look at
Valhalla.
this.
Excuse me, Eric. Hi. It's Torgus from down the fjord.
What now? Give me a second, kids. August, what do you want?
Yeah, I think when you retrieved your set stoker that you had me hold for you, you might have taken mine.
Nah, I'm pretty sure I got the right ones.
Are you sure? Because that one has my name and my face carved into it. Hey, is that my lawnmower?
So yeah, Mr. Terry, if you guys are here from Mr. Terry, I can't thank Mr. Terry enough for some of the early success of this channel. I'd been watching some of his stuff, and just one day I was like, you know what, let me just email him a link to one of the videos, because, you know, I thought his audience might like it. And he said, sure, I'll take a look at it. And a couple of weeks later, he's like, wow, this is really good. Just so you know, I've done a review video on it, and I'm posting it in like 15 minutes. And so I was like, okay, I hope he liked it. And yeah, he really liked it. And his audience seems to be really liking it. A lot of people have come over from that. I'm really thankful for all the attention that he's been able to bring over here. Yeah, and he's been great. So in the War of 1812 series, he did one of the characters in there. He did Armstrong in there, and he was so brutal on himself. I think he did a fine job, but he was really disappointed with. He was really disappointed with how like he played the role. So I was like, okay, I gotta give you a redemption, man. So this one, I was like, okay, I got a character for you. This is your character. When you do him, I want you to channel like Ned Flanders. I even did like a quick run through of the lines, like how I would kind of envision it, so that both like the lines between him and between Eric the Red, so he could hear how the conversation would go. Because it's really hard. It's really hard to do it, you know, just by yourself. You don't really know what you're doing and how it's supposed to go out. You're not having a conversation. I think he knocked it out of the park this time. Too bad. Well, you'll see about what happens to him in the background. But again, I really liked. I think it actually worked having this action happening in the foreground, and then just kind of funny action that you don't have to pay too much attention to in the background, but this still advances the plot. I think it didn't get too complicated, so I'm happy about that. So let's see. Are you late? No, you're not late. We're only like 5 minutes into the video. By the way, this is by far, well, maybe not by far, but this is my longest video at 19 minutes and 29 seconds. I am not going to be doing one that long for quite some time. So yeah, glad to have you in here, Anvith. I hope I said that right.
Leif, I bet you'd be a great bajerker.
Thorvald, grow up already. We're sick of you always being so mean. Right, Flatus?
You're still alive because I have yet to hunt you for sport.
Okay, Flatus.
Okay, I just got to say, right before this went live last week, I was just doing a listen through after I had uploaded it to make sure that all my subtitles were correct. And when it came to this line, I realized that I had put in the same exact line for the first time, like this played out in the intro. So I had to just like run around so quickly. I had to go back into the editing, and this is a gigantic file. Like it's a 20-minute long animated file. So it took like 40 minutes to render. My internet here is like Telegram quality. So then it took like another 40 minutes to get up, and then I had to put like all the meta stuff in. So I probably, even knowing we had known for about a month and a half when we were going to launch, that we were going to release this video, Jack Rackham and I think I had everything done like maybe 15 minutes before it finally went live. So yeah.
Thorstein, did you hear? Thorstein, take those off your head. You look ridiculous.
Yeah, as everybody should know, Vikings didn't really wear helmets with horns on them. They would be pretty bad during battle. Might as well just give your enemy something to grab onto. Yeah, I'm glad I stumbled upon this channel one, and then I couldn't find it. Then I found it from Mr. Terry. Yeah. So, oh, me? Yes, I have a face. Yeah, but I've subscribed after Jack Rackham. Eton Shea crossovers helped me find it for real. Yeah, at first I was talking to Eton Shea about, hey, maybe at first I was actually talking to him about maybe doing it, but the schedules were just not lining up. And he wasn't sure if he was doing another Leif Erikson day video. I'm really glad that he did. It was awesome. Like, he commented on this video as I was watching his. But yeah, and also, oh my God, he has a face. I think at this point, I am the only animated history YouTuber that doesn't have an animated avatar, even one that just like stays completely still, or one that's like, So I'm debating on whether I want to introduce myself into the Drawn a History cinematic universe. We'll see. I might have a spot to put like a kind of version of me in the next video, but we'll see. Yeah, I'll tell you what we're gonna be doing next after we go through this video.
All right, family, I got news. We're being banished for murder again.
So yeah, second time being banished.
Having been banished, Eric headed west to a land that was known to the Norse for almost 100 years, but never settled.
Yeah, so this is the one that they earlier tried to settle and everybody wound up killing each other, I believe. I think that's how it works out. Yeah, and I think they tried to settle originally on the eastern portion, which is much harsher than the western portion over here.
For 3 years, he explored that land, and while he did find icy mountains, he also found green valleys, waters full of fish, and valuable trees due to the medieval warm period that had just started.
So yeah, from what I was reading and the main anchor text that I use for this video, I always try to use at least like one full-on anchor text is Vikings by Magnus Magnusson, which is like the most Scandinavian way that the most Scandinavian name I can think of, Magnus Magnusson. But from research, like, yes, Greenland is still Greenland, but like it was in the beginning of a medieval warm period, so it wasn't as cold, it wasn't as snowed over as it is now. There actually were some trees there. Now the Vikings are pretty much they're gonna use up all those trees really, really quickly, which is part of the reason. I didn't really get into it too much, but it's part of the reason why it's theorized that Leif wanted to do some of this exploring anyway. Will they be able to find more lumber? Because we don't have lumber, you're going to be in a pickle real quick. So yeah. But here coming up here is the Greenland naming joke.
You know, Eric, I think we might be able to get some Icelanders to help us colonize this land when your exile's over.
Maybe, but it's so far away in the boonies. We need to give it a good name because men will desire much the more to go there if the land has a good name.
Yes. But what name would appeal to what men desire most?
Come to Big Titty Girlfriend Land. Fine, Greenland. Come to Greenland.
And this is definitely one of those jokes where I was like, am I doing too much right here? When I watched Mr. Terry's commentary video on this, his face was like, what? So I could tell, like, in this one, we're kind of moving on to the next level. You know, we're really experimenting with how far we can go. I think the original line in the script was like, come to Big Titty Goth Girlfriend Land. And I'm like, that's a little bit just too much of a mouthful. But yeah. So, this allows me to talk to our marketing. Oh yeah, this is our last appearance by Mr. Terry as Thorgust right over here. His skull 3 years later is still there on the beach. Don't know if anybody noticed that one.
In 985, 25 ships sailed west. 14 actually made it, and Greenland began to be colonized. Never a large settlement, Greenland survived, and Erik, now in the power position of first settler, had nowhere left to be banished from. Kind of takes the fun out of everything, you know? Leif. As the Viking settlement in Greenland grew, though never reaching a population of more than 3,000,
So yeah, I see
Erik's
numbers
children
between
grew up as
3,
well. Around
some
the
say
year
no more than 5,
1000,
but
Leif
always
had traveled to
small.
Norway to see the land of his grandfather's banishment. While there, he ended up in the court of Norwegian King Olaf Tryggvason. Yeah, so Greenland's not bad. It's not great. It's like a warm fart on a cold day.
So one of the parts that like I was thinking of putting in, but I kind of cut out for time is I can't remember if it's on the way there or on the way back. Leif has a son, and he just kind of leaves because he has to go back to Greenland. So I was gonna play up the joke of okay, I just got to go out for some cigarettes, and like he never comes back again. But I was like, okay, that's weird to have that joke and then have like super Christian Leif. So I cut that one on out. What does it say? With how powerful Viking women were, I wouldn't be surprised if this was called, Death by Shroom Shroom, right? Right? Is that what it's called? There we go.
That's disgusting. Anyway, have you heard the good news? Good news? We're all gonna be Christians now! King Olaf says you'll love it. So Jesus is the Son of God, and he did all these miracles like feeding 5,000 people with a few loaves of bread and a couple of fish. We already got enough gods, Leif. We got Odin, and he's already got a son, Thor, who's not just some glorified caterer. He's the god of thunder! He's got a hammer that shoots lightning! Well, Jesus was a carpenter, so he probably had a hammer too. Probably just used it to make chairs, though.
Does anyone have a Jesus chair?
Not that I know of. You know, it's kind of weird now that I think about it.
Yeah, like, okay, so Snoo Snoo, not Shroom Shroom. Shroom Shroom is the awful, like, stupid craft channel, I think. Snoo Snoo. He's a carpenter, right? Like, Joseph was a carpenter, so he was a carpenter, so, you know, there's a lot of time where there should be some carpentry. Just saying. But let's see, we had our first line from Jack Rackham. Jack Rackham, I think he has like one of, if not the best voices in the educational YouTube business. I had him before for, I believe, like John Quincy Adams in the War of 1812 when they're doing some negotiations. And anytime Shroom is a LSD mushroom. Yeah. Anytime I just see that video and hear him say, and giving my little Quincy a little rinsey, I find quite refreshing. Like, just the way he says it, he completely nailed it out the ballpark. Do you do the voiceover for all the characters, because they sound like they have different people voicing over them? Most of the people are me. There's 4 extra voices on here. My little guy was Little Leif. Of course, Thorvald over here is Jack Rackham. Mr. Terry was Thorgist, F in the chat for him. And as we're about to see, we're about to have Freitas, adult Freitas.
Freitas, tell me you're not buying into this Christianity stuff. Freitas, I haven't seen you since I returned. Whoa, Freitas, is that you?
I bet if I slit your throat and turned you into a Pez dispenser, you'd recognize me.
Yup, that's you, Freitas. Anyway.
So, if any of you have ever seen that old animated movie, I think it's from the 70s, Heavy Metal, like, that was kind of the vibe I was going for with adult Freitas. I basically wanted her to be like a Led Zeppelin, one of those like Led Zeppelin D&D songs come to life, and just have her be the toughest of all of the Vikings because of the stories that she has. She consistently has the best stories out of all of this family here. So I was going to go full into that. So I had my friend Tamara Nozick, who has a wonderful channel, and her channel is linked in the description of the video. And she just like nailed all of these. There's so we went into the sound booth and it was just like, okay, this line here. I wasn't sure when I wanted to place all of the different colorful language that she has. So like we would do lines, you know, just straight intimidating, and then we do lines with, you know, a little bit of the naughty words in there, so that way I had some choices to do. She's also the hardest to animate because, let's see, well, later on I'll talk about the amount of layers she has as opposed to everybody else. Everybody else's head, body, left arm, and right arm, and she has quite considerably more.
Wait, Dad, do you know Bjarni Herjulfsson? Bjarni Herjulfsson was a Norwegian merchant that had earlier sailed to Greenland to winter with his father.
Again, Mr. Terry, right off the bat, when he watched this, he knew right off the bat, he called it, hey, Bjarni is Barney from The Simpsons. He's dressed exactly the same, just with like a little bit of like Viking flair on him. But yeah, that was a little joke to make me laugh.
He was blown off course, got flip-turned upside down, and discovered land that did not match the description he had of Greenland. Bjarni, this land has fair winds, fresh water, and it's covered with trees. Can we make landfall here? No, we have plenty of good land at home in Greenland. So I told Leif, whatever, if he wants to buy...
Okay, if by the end of the scene, somebody tell me where Fjordhild's shirt comes from, what that is a reference to.
Bjarni's ship and sail west in search of some mysterious land? I don't care. Imagine leaving voluntarily instead of getting banished. What's this world coming to? He asked me to come, but there ain't no way I'll come. Oh, what was that for? There's not enough room in this bed for me and my newfound Christian faith, and you and your pagan gods. Dad,
So that's, you know, according to, I always forget which saga's doing which way, because you have the saga of the Greenlanders and the saga of Eric the Red, but according to the sagas, Thjodhild did convert, and since Eric the Red did not, she refused to sleep with him for the rest of his life. So, the banishment is being the running joke that keeps on coming in and out of the video. So, I figured at this point he's banished from his bed, but I guess nobody knows. Team building exercise 99. Team building exercise 99. If you've ever watched the Flight of the Conchords, they have a song called Business Time, which is all about just like married, boring, scheduled sex. Like after you do the recycling on Wednesday night, it's business time. And instead of wearing something nice and enticing, they wear the girl wears a team building exercise 99 t-shirt from that work retreat she had to do. So yeah. And Flight of the Conchords are fantastic. If you have never seen them, watch Flight of the Conchords. They're on HBO. You can find them on YouTube. Brett and Jermaine. Brett?
What was that for? There's not enough room in this bed for me and my newfound Christian faith, and you and your pagan gods.
Dad, I'm so glad you decided to come with us now.
Yeah, well, I guess you could say I've been banished one last time. Ooh, speaking of, did I tell you the time that Jesus banished the moneylenders from the temple? He started flipping tables, and he was all like, "Do not make my father's house a house of trade." Are you gonna be talking about Jesus this whole trip? Well, probably. It's kind of my thing now. Oh, fart. Anyway, Jesus was trashing the place, going, "My house shall be called the house of prayer, but ye have made it a den of thieves." Well, Dad, are you okay? Oh, my leg. Oh, it's totally got a patrol burns. I am well stricken. Oh, Leif, I guess I can't go on this expedition with you. Well, I can call it off and stay with you. We can pray until it heals. No, I mean, no, it's okay. I'll be okay. You just go. Yeah, and I'll stay here and wait for the sweet mercy of death. You sure? Positive.
Yeah, so according to the saga, Eric changes his mind and decides, okay, I will go with you. But all it says is like he fell off his horse. So I say, okay, let's make Leif where he's recently converted and he won't shut up about it. And Eric is just like, oh God, I can't deal with this. I got to find some way to get out of this. So throwing himself off the horse, being a malingerer, figure that's the best approach for him. So let's head on off to North America.
So around the year 1000, Leif and his crew of 35 sailed west. After a few days, it appeared on the horizon, the land that Bjarni had spoke of. Leif disembarked and set foot in the new world. They should have sent a poet to describe how useless this land is. I shall call it Hella Land because it's hella boring. Back in the boat, everybody! And by stepping foot on what is almost definitely Baffin Island, Canada today.
Yeah, so Baffin Island, if you take a look at that coast of Baffin Island, that's what it would look at. I was really looking for this really beautiful, I don't know why, I decided my backgrounds, that the actual sky of my backgrounds, whenever possible, I always like to use actual ones. I don't know if it really contributes anything to the video, but I just kind of like the feel for it. It makes it a little bit more identifiable. But there is one little section in there where the sun's going the wrong way, considering the direction that they've traveled. But that one's so small. All the rest of them, the sun is actually setting because it is in the west. The sun would be to the west of them. But there's one where the sun is rising, so you can shame me now.
Today, Leif became the first European to arrive in North America. They continued exploring, finding another land with white sands and heavy woods, which Leif called Markland, which means woodland. Very creative. Leif and company would then sail around what is now Newfoundland. They would settle at Leifsboder, or Leif's dwelling, for the winter, and before leaving, make another discovery. See One-Day Tiker, a German thrall on the expedition.
Yeah, so yeah, they actually named it Helluland, and Leifsboder is the site of Lonsau Meadow is said to be Leifsboder was said to be around there, and it's crazy that for like almost 1,000 years none of this was confirmed until they finally they on an archaeological expedition, I believe in the 70s, either the 60s or the 70s, they finally found evidence there. So for 1,000 years, this was just kind of like folklore. This was like, yeah, it's just in the sagas, but see what happens. And then you got Tiger up here, who I had to decide how much of him I was going to go into him, because it says like thrall he's a Viking slave. He was a German that they had taken slave, but like, not the slavery that we think of. And in fact, it's said that he was kind of at times almost like a foster father to Leif, because Eric the Red would go on different expeditions and different trips and whatnot and be away for a good amount of time when he was a kid. So it said kind of like Tiger was kind of like a second father figure to him. But, the video is already 19 minutes long, so I can't go into everything.
Was late arriving back at the settlement. When they did find him, he was
scene
drunk
is
as a
his
skunk
most
and
important part
proclaimed,
anyway.
"I found vines and grapes." Tierker, those aren't grapes. They look like berries.
I think they're squash berries.
Maybe cranberries. I don't care if they're dingleberries. We could still make prison hooch wine out of them. Wait a minute. If you just found the berries, then why are you so drunk? I don't know. Why are you so sexy? Whatever. We should call this
why is
land
he so
Vinland.
drunk? He just ate
And
the
that was
berries.
about it for this fabled expedition.
They're not wine yet.
Spring came, Leif loaded up his men, some wood, and a ton of grapes and headed home. He even found a group of shipwrecked Norsemen on the return trip and rescued them, earning him the name Leif the Lucky. Oh yeah, now I got 50 men packed into a tiny ship. I'm the luckiest man in the world.
So yeah, this is one version of the saga's stories. The other one has him as Leif, I believe, on the way back home from Scandinavia, getting blown off course and coming across North America. But this one definitely, like, if I had to make a decision which one to go with, and this one I feel more plausible. Somebody else saw it before, but he, and like the word got around, but no, they didn't explore it before, and they kept on finding land as they kept on going. I mean, you have mainland Europe, and then you have Britain, and then you have Ireland, and then you have the Faroe Islands, and then you have Iceland, and then you have Greenland. So it's not crazy to think that there continues to be more land out there. So I decided to go with this one where somebody sees it first and then somebody else later, especially if they had already kind of gotten rid of all the available lumber by that point in Leif's life, and they were looking for supplies, looking for raw materials, then wanting to venture out even more. But that kind of goes along with more of like, why didn't they colonize it? Well, you got to think like they are like, that would become an outpost of an outpost of an outpost of an outpost of, like, so far removed where the supply chain's just like, just go east, don't go west.
According to the saga of the Greenlanders, tragedy struck the winter after Leif's return to Greenland. Eric the Red died, and being pagan until the end, was most likely buried next to the newly built church grounds, though even this he probably wasn't very happy about. One might expect Thorvald as the eldest son to take his father's place, but Thorvald, perhaps jealous of Leif's explorative success, had other plans.
So I want to go to Vinland. You
Jack
basically
Rabbit.
spent a winter there and ran home.
Well, I guess my
Yeah, that all it really was. It was one expedition by Leif. That's all he really did, as far as we know, as far as like the saga goes. But I think that somebody asked, like, what was the most interesting thing, the most interesting part of this that I learned in my research, and just like that his family kept on trying to go, right? So it turned into like a family affair. He gets all the credit in there, but I find pretty much all the other people's stories more interesting. His two brothers and Freydis' story, I find them more interesting.
stay was brief.
I mean, you didn't even murder anyone. Me? I want to meet interesting and stimulating people of an ancient culture and kill them.
Okay, by the end of the scene, tell me where that line's from. Okay? I want to meet interesting and stimulating people of an ancient culture and kill them.
We actually didn't find anyone to kill, but sure, do you want to use my boat?
Shut up. Of course I'm taking your boat. So I guess that'll leave you
And
in
he did?
charge.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right. I need a favor then. I need you to banish me.
What?
Come on! Grandpa got banished, Dad got banished. I want to be banished too.
Thorvald, you're my brother, and you haven't done anything wrong. I'm not banishing you.
Well, Christianity is wrong. See, I've blasphemed.
Of course, Leif has the footprints in the sand poster on
Banish
his wall.
me!
Well, Jesus has taught me to turn the other cheek.
Oh yeah? I hang toilet paper under instead of over. Banish me.
Unpardonable.
No, you don't, because toilet paper hasn't
there's
been
a little
invented
Viking
yet.
map behind
Just
Leif.
go to Vinland with my blessing. Ah, Thorvald, stop! Get out of
William.
here!
That counts as banishment. That counts. Ha ha!
All right, so nobody guessed it in the chat over here. Yeah, a little bit of a dead chat, and yeah, nobody knew. I wanna meet I want to meet stimulating people of an ancient culture and kill them. That's Full Metal Jacket right over there. Joker Man, I believe. I want to be the first kid on my block with a confirmed kill. So yeah, I always got to throw some references in there.
So Thorvald and his crew of 30 men were off to Vinland. They wintered at Leif's boudoir and explored during the spring, which is when they found something that had eluded Leif during his journey. Other people. Thorvald greeted them the only way he knew how.
Yeah, this is actually
Jeez,
first
those guys
contact.
are so loud. We should call them Skrellings, because all they do is scream.
I know. What's up with that?
All right, score another win for the Vikings. Do you hear something?
Ooh.
Run away! Run away! Run away!
You gotta do the Monty Python runaway.
We barely got out of there with our lives. Wait.
So yeah, he didn't actually get banished, but like I said, I kind of approached this project since there's so little to go on the sagas. Of like, let's take the saga as the base material and make sure we get out like, you know, the real good information about it. And then what if this family was like a dysfunctional sitcom family? So, you know, Torvald, his character he's really jealous at this point. So he's just looking for some way to kind of go off and do it and be as glorious as like he feels that his dad was, and he's jealous of his brother, and his dad got banished twice and his grandpa, his namesake, got banished. So he just wants to get banished so much. Yeah. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a joke.
Does that count as a banishment?
I guess it does.
Hell yeah! Eat that, Leif!
Odin's nipples!
What? Was I hit?
Uh-huh.
Is it bad?
As opposed to good?
Okay, just pull them out. Oh, wait, no, keep it in. No, no, pull it out, Slow. Ah, no, quick!
Almost.
Ah! Okay, that's better.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jack Rackham. Wonderful voice acting by Jack Rackham. Yeah, I believe in the sagas itself, it just says that like he got hit by one arrow, but that's not nearly as funny. I mean, same difference. He was killed by an arrow. He's said to have been the only one of this attack that did get killed by an arrow, therefore making him what you're about to see.
He would be the first European buried on the American continent.
Tis but a
and
flesh
thus ends
wound.
the
Good call,
story
good call.
Of Thorvald Erikson.
Thorstein.
Then there's the story of Thorstein Erikson. He, too, decided to go to Vinland, but immediately got lost. Washed up in another part of Greenland, died of a mysterious illness, came back as a zombie creature named a Dragger, told his wife Gudrid to rebound with an Icelander, and died again. And thus ends the tale of Thorstein Erikson.
So yeah, Thorstein, I love his story because there's so little to it. But yeah, that's a pretty good summation of his expedition. He tries to go to the New World. They get lost. His wife is with him when they get lost, and they get blown back to Greenland. And he gets blown back to Greenland, and they actually get picked up by like another group. And the people that bring them in, one of them there is also named Thorstein. And the first Thorstein dies and then comes back as a dragger. And then this Thorstein also died. Like, I had to read through the saga a couple of times. I'm like, am I confusing Thorsteins? But no, they make a good point to like, to distinguish which one's which. And yeah, it says like he just kind of like comes back from the dead and tells his wife that like she's going to, she'll be okay and that she'll marry an Icelander. And then he just kind of dies again. But yeah, he was like this reanimated creature called a dragger. So it was like, it's just so crazy and so brief, and it worked out really, really well. So yeah, I mean, the historical basement of the "I want you to banish me" scene is I was taking a little bit of license there in making Torvald's character a character that always wants to be seen as tough and wants to be seen as the bully. He was picking on everybody when he was kids. So now that like Leif has this big accomplishment to him, he wants to save face. He wants to do it too, but he doesn't want to just like run away and do it, because he also wants to like follow in the footsteps of his father, who was banished twice, and his grandfather, who was banished. Like there's a family legacy to him. So yeah, like, did he make Leif banish him? No, that part was just a joke, but you know, it was going along with like the lineage of the family, and you know, just having a little fun with it.
Then there's Freydis, Eric's daughter.
Okay. Let me just answer the questions that are down over here. Taking the ground. That's good. Can I go now? Or buying the yogurt from the Chinese salesman. That's good. That's bad. Can I go now? Is that a Simpsons episode that I don't understand? Or is that a Monty Python one? I was just getting Monty Python from Holy Grail. And how does one deal with the fantastical elements in older histories? Ignore retcon. Was magic real? That's another reason why I had that earlier joke of like, this should not be taken literally, right? This is folklore. This is a lot of times is talking in metaphor. You know, a lot of times is parables. You know, you should take messages from it. But I want to talk about Freydis over here. So Freydis is by far the most complicated character I've ever had, because when she's moving all around, I was guessing because you said Homer in there, but I mean, man, I haven't seen the Simpsons in like 20 years. Although there is a really, really good Simpsons YouTube channel that does like really good analysis of like Simpsons episodes and seasons and characters, like bit characters. I forget the name of it, but it's really good. Anyway, she is a torso. She's the only one that has left and right independently animated legs. She has left and right arms. She, of course, has her head. She always has her hair blowing in the wind somewhere. And as we know later, she has parts of her clothes that come off and other appendages of hers that can bounce. Well, we'll see that in a little bit.
Depending on which saga you read, Freydis is either a psychopathic balls-out villain or a psychopathic balls-out hero. Either way, Freydis rules. In the saga of the Greenland,
yeah, in the Greenlanders, she's just like a cold-blooded murderer. Because I think in the Greenlanders, she never converts. So, like, she's kind of meant to stand for all the awfulness of the old ways. And, like, yeah, the story of Helgi and Finnbogen, like, it just cold-blooded.
There's two Norwegian brothers, Helgi and Finnbogi, came to Greenland and Freydis struck a deal with them to launch an expedition to Vinland. They agreed to bring equal crews of 30 men in their...
Yeah, the plan. 2 30-man crews. We're going to have equal crews. We're going to go to Vinland. We'll split the proceeds, and we won't kill each other. Yeah.
Ships, but Freydis tried to sneak extra men aboard.
Freydis, I can't help but notice you have a couple extra men.
Grab each other's f***ing hands. Conjoined twins. They count as one. Quit bitching and get in your boats.
The brothers were the first of the ships.
Yeah, it said that she tried to sneak the 5 extra sailors in there. So like before they even leave Greenland, Freydis is just going crazy. Freydis is just being total 100% Freydis, and it's only going to get more Freydis from there.
To reach the Norse settlement now known as Lonsdale Meadows and took up residence in Leif's old house until...
Freydis, you've arrived.
Get out of my house.
We just figured since we got here first, we should have first pick.
And I just figured that if you don't get out of my house, I'll shove my fist up your ass, then shove you up his ass, and make a Norwegian turducken.
Needless to say, there was tension between the two groups.
So yeah, that's true too. The brothers got there first, and they tried moving in first, and she's like, "Get the hell out of my house!" I'm not playing. I think there's one or two other instances before like this scene coming up here in which she is just seething with animosity towards these two. I would not want to be in their shoes. What were they thinking?
And it only got worse over the winter. One morning, Freydis awoke her husband.
Wake up, you slapper, and go kill those weirdo brothers and their crew.
Why, my love? What have they done?
Does it matter? Whatever. Let's say they hit me.
The Lutefisk twins? They couldn't hit water if they fell out of a longship.
Listen, either the settlement gets massacred today, or you do.
Dude, your wife's pretty intense. Joke's on her. I'm into that.
Yeah, so as per the saga of the Greenlander, she comes up to her husband and she's like, you need to go kill them. And I'm like, why do I gotta kill them? Because they hit me, which, from everything I know about Freydis, they're not hitting Freydis. Yeah, that would be crazy. But, you know, she was planning. She knew it was up.
That's it, my love. All the men are dead.
When did I say kill only the men?
My love, we couldn't possibly. Which is when Freydis pulled a Thanos and said,
Fine, I'll do it myself.
now...
So the end of that story is, yeah, they obliterate the entire settlement of the brothers. And then Freydis swears her crew to silence. They're not allowed to tell Leif about it. And of course, when they get back, somebody tells Leif about it. He finds out about it, but he doesn't really do much about it because it's his sister. I would not want to be the person that got, that told Leif and then nothing really happened. And then you run into Freydis because, remember, there's not really any more than a couple of thousand people at a time at Greenland. So that would have been pretty awkward. Yeah. But here's the saga of Eric the Red. Truth be told, this last section on Freydis was the very last one that I worked on, because it's towards the end, but also, I kept on going back and forth on the script because I wasn't sure. I'm like, is the tone working? Is it too much? What's going on? And, it's my favorite part of the video. It just came out so well. So yeah, let's see the conclusion of Freydis' story.
The saga of Eric the Red tells a different story. Thorfinn Karlsefni, an Icelandic merchant, came to Greenland, got in good with the not yet dead Eric the Red, and even married Thorstein's wife, fulfilling his zombie prophecy.
Yeah, remember you said
He
you will
also
marry an
launched
Icelander?
another expedition to Vinland, in which Freydis joined in. They got along well with the Skraelings, forging a trade relationship between the two groups. Then, whether because the natives saw a bull for the first time, or because these lactose-intolerant people drank milk for the first time, the Skraelings lost their minds.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different theories as to what actually set off this conflict, because it was good at first. There was a trade relationship. There is a very big theory that they were just really spooked by a bull, and you gotta remember that they didn't have the Skraelings, the indigenous people. They didn't have domesticated animals of nearly that size. And then there's other stories of since they didn't have domesticated animals of nearly that size, they might have had milk for the first time, and didn't. If you've never had milk before, that's gonna run a train on your stomach, and they might have thought they were getting poisoned because they didn't understand what was happening. Either way, for some reason, conflict just exploded, and this is in the saga. This is what she does right now is. The line, what she said might be a little bit different, but her actions are what happened.
The Norse were soon surrounded, and all seemed lost until a very pregnant Freydis emerged.
You
Then
the
she's doing this
slingers
all
call
pregnant,
yourselves
too.
Vikings? Get out of my way.
Freydis then grabbed a sword, whipped out a tit, slapped it with her weapon, and scared the ever-living crap out of the Skraelings.
All right, motherfuckers, who's ready to die today?
Can't watch that and not laugh.
So, as you can see, Capitano Colombo, I was the first European to discover America.
So yeah, this is I believe the lobby or one of the main rooms of the Explorers Club here in New York City. So I had to do a bunch of research just to get the correct painting that they have over their fireplace. But yeah, so this is a pretty fair, not reinterpretation, representation of what the Explorers Club actually looks like, which I felt would be the perfect setting for this conversation that actually came during the Leif Erikson part originally in the script. And that part was just getting so long. So I thought it would be good to like kind of bring it back at the very end to this idea of like, okay, so then what should we consider as first contact?
Maron, you don't count. Your people didn't even colonize it. True. It was hard enough even colonizing Greenland for the couple of hundred years that we did.
Fine. She
Still,
scared them
I
all
should
away.
Get the credit.
They all
Like Nifam, you
fled in
should.
fear.
I, Sneebjorn Galti Holmsteinson, first arrived in Greenland in AD 978. And as this tectonic map shows, Greenland is clearly part of North America. Didn't you and all your settlers kill each other? I don't see how that's relevant. First, Raven Floki. I was first. I founded Reykjavik, which is clearly on the North American side of Iceland. So I'm the first European in North America. Is that so, Raven? Gentlemen, I am the first. Greenland and Iceland.
I don't know if anybody got that joke, but That's So Raven. Shout out to all the That's So Raven fans.
And are clearly part of Europe, both politically and culturally, so I am clearly the most important explorer here. Excuse me? Who are you? Me? I'm a member of the late Dorset people. Us Paleo-Eskimos, we've been living in and out of Greenland for like 4,000 years. If Greenland is Europe, my specific people have been traveling and living there for like 500 years before you and your family even got there. By your own logic and definition, it's the indigenous North Americans that discovered Europe first and not the other way around, so, maybe I'm the most important explorer here. Well, my friend, congratulations. You've officially been discovered! White people.
Yeah. So, like, I thought it was really important to have a discussion on, this idea of, like, who's first. Because, how we look at the land, I mean, if depending on you look at it, if we're going to count Greenland as, European in politically and culturally, it's like, well, there were indigenous Americans there the entire time. And if we're going to make a big deal that like Leif Erikson was the first European to North America, I mean, they didn't colonize, they didn't stay. In fact, this was lost to history for like 1,000 years. So we don't have a name of like a Paleo-Eskimo or one of these late Dorset people, but like we should acknowledge people were there beforehand. But yeah, kind of generic Viking theme heavy metal, but that's really good. I like you having like death metal Lovecraft conversations in the chat. Go for it.
Jack Rackham, what you doing here? Did you get banished from your channel or something?
No, Eric. Remember, this video is part of a collab.
Yeah, just pointing out here, you got Tamara up here. Go check out her channel. She does mainly like singing tutorials. And then alliterative, which they have their avatar as the Endless Knot. They didn't do any of the characters, but they do a lot of language-based stuff. So at one point, I had no idea how to say even half of these names. And so that I didn't 100% butcher them, I said, okay, can I send you all these names and you do like a run through of them, so at least I have something to go off of that will be somewhat correct. So yeah, it was really cool that they did that. So if you want to check out stuff having to do with like the evolution of language, check out Alliterative. They're a really good channel. It's okay. Hey, you know what? It's Saturday afternoon. Have some fun.
Drawn of History is doing this video on you and your family, and I'm doing one on Hakon the Fourth. People can check it out over here.
Yeah, and when they're done, they can check out another Drawn of History video over here. Or maybe they can support Drawn of History by becoming a Patreon patron like these guys here. These folks are the kind that you can found a colony in the middle of nowhere with.
So, Eric, you think you can introduce me to Freitas?
Oh, no, Jack, no, my boy. She'd break you in half.
Yeah, so the Patreon patrons, I mean, they've been supporting me really, really well. If anybody ever wants to become a Patreon patron, you just go to patreon.com/drawnahistory. We're having a good time over there. Well, one of the things that I actually do over there is every week or so when I'm doing the actual animation, I'll I'm constantly like rendering just so that I can see it. That's why I was really disappointed that like repeat Freitas line made it all the way almost up until actual release. I'm like, how did I never hear this before? But as I go through my editing, I just keep on uploading like new versions. So I'll edit for a week or so. I'll have a couple extra minutes done editing, and then I'll open up a new one. So you can always get a sneak peek at that. I try to upload like image files as PNGs of the different characters, so that if you wanted to download them and use them, if you're a fan of the old Mr. Betts class stuff, like there's in the channel posting, there's like digital downloads of the actual songs that were in the parody songs, so you can do that. So if you ever feel like supporting the channel, you can definitely join us over on Patreon. We'd be happy to have you. So let's see. I'm gonna create a poll over here. What do you want next? Let's see. Non-DOH animated video or news on next project? I'll let you guys decide what we should do next. Okay? I mean, there's only 12 of us, so, your vote really... Ooh, there's 14 concurrent viewers now. Your vote really counts. But, yeah, let's see what you guys want to do next. Because I got some time. I actually have the house all to myself. So we could take a look at... a Drawn a History, like one of the old animated videos from my other channel that I've never made it over here to Drawn of History. Or we could talk about what's going on with the next project. Let me see how this is. No, I don't want to end the poll. I want to see the poll. Let me see it. Ooh, it's like 50-50. Oh, boy. It's 50-50. A non-DOH animated video that I made, just not on this channel, or news on the project. I'll give it like another 30 seconds or so, and whatever happens after that. Let's see. While I do that, let me just take this down over on here. Let's see. All right, well, it looks like 58-42. When the clock goes 4:45, we'll put another video on up there. So let's see when it goes 4:45. This has been really cool hanging out with you guys. I do have, well, eventually I will tell you what the next project is anyway. Band reactions. But yeah, is it 4? Oh, it's 4:45. We're gonna end the poll, and the winner is non-Drawn of History animated video. So you know what? Let's go so that we're not going along for too long. This was like the first. Let me bring it back over here, and you'll see like the style is kind of there, but I don't think it fits quite with the Drawn of History yet. So I haven't moved this over to the Drawn of History channel, but the video that I'm about to show you, it's still on my Mr. Betts class channel, and it was the first like really big effort into animated history video that I did, and I think it came out really well. So let me know in the chat if you've seen it before. So let me take that part off. So yeah, this one is actually like, oh boy, this one's almost 3 years old.
Anything to report?
Nope, all's calm. Wait, there. Is that an explosive mine?
Oh, that? That's a banana rat.
Ugh, that thing's the size of a Doberman.
Yeah, disgusting, isn't it?
Well, everything's fine then, yup.
Yup.
Yep.
Yup. Oh, did I mention I retire in 2 days?
Oh, really? That's...
So yeah, this is from the old channel, from the other channel, Mr. Betts class. The sailor there, doing lines along with me, that's actually Canubis. So if you've ever seen Canubis's channel, great creator, great guy to work with. So yeah, so that's where that explosion in the title sequence of Drawn in History comes from. It comes from this Spanish-American War video.
Remember when Spain was the most dominant power in the Western Hemisphere? This was them in 1790. 100 years later, not so much. And revolutionaries in Cuba wanted to be added to the list of former colonies in 1895, but Spain was having none of it. Enter General Valeriano Weyler, the governor of Cuba, tasked with crushing the rebellion. He's perhaps best known for his reconcentration camps, but like any M. Night Shyamalan film, his came with a twist. I see dead people. He didn't detain rebels or undesirables. His camps detained the Cuban people. 1.5 million Cubans, 1/3 of the population, were at gunpoint forced to abandon their homes for these camps that, surprise, had inadequate food, inadequate supplies, inadequate housing, medical treatment, basically everything. And 400,000 Cubans died, earning Weyler the nickname The Butcher.
I actually recycled one of these elements. If you look close, hey, we recognize this skull. That was Mr. Terry's skull in the last video, in the Viking video. That was Torgis' skull. Yeah, oh man. This is back when every single new scene I did complete ones from scratch. So, like, this is one whole drawing. So later on, you're going to have Teddy Roosevelt. And I think I drew Teddy Roosevelt like 15 or 20 different times. It was just an incredibly inefficient way to work. Not that my way to work now is so efficient, but you can even see like the proportions are still there. Like this is very a prototype of the Drawn in History channel.
Died, earning Weyler the nickname The Butcher. Who gave him this name? These guys, American newspaper publishers like Joseph Pulitzer and his New York World and William Randolph Hearst and his New York Journal. And these guys hated each other just as much as they loved selling papers using yellow journalism or sensationalism and crude exaggeration. And readers couldn't get enough of the patriotic Cubans fighting against the tyrannical and sometimes tawdry Spanish. But the papers and the public weren't enough to have the U.S. intervene in the Cuban War for independence. You would need the businesses and politicians too. See, the late 1800s was all about imperialism, finding new markets and people to trade with you. The U.S. had dabbled in this, sending Commodore Matthew Perry to go open Japan and helping Sanford Dole to rearrange the power structure in Hawaii. But why go all the way over there when there's a perfectly good Civil War-ravaged island in your own backyard? Many in Congress felt that if the U.S. was going to be a big boy country, it was going to have to start poking its nose in international affairs. So when the...
I'm just like watching this and watching like some of the backgrounds and whatnot. When I was doing these videos, I literally didn't know that if I just like, hit shift and like move my pen across or move my mouse across in Photoshop, I would get a completely straight line. So I remember trying to draw it and be like, whoop, nope. Control Z. Whoop, nope, whoop, nope, whoop, nope. That one's close enough. Like that's how much it was. And like proper using the wand to select these areas and just like paint them in. No, it was so tedious.
USS Maine was sent to protect the American interests in Cuba, namely sugar plantations, and mysteriously blew up on February 15th, 1898.
If that scream is familiar, if you've ever seen the Tom Cruise movie, The Mummy, and they released a trailer for The Mummy, but they released it with a scene where like the plane's falling apart and they didn't put any of the other music. Like they screwed up and they didn't put any of the music or any of the other sound effects other than him screaming on there. So you just hear like him like, So it's like one of my favorite sound bites to just throw in there when I need a generic scream. So these are just things that make me happy.
The people were like, big business was like, Warhawks were like, Mark Twain was like, no.
Yeah,
and
Mark
Hertz and
Twain was
Pulitzer
like,
were
nah.
like,
Hertz, you old hugamaga, did you hear about Havana?
Went kaboom, whole ship's out of print.
You afternoonified on the why?
Why? Why's it matter? We're gonna sell a lot of gray ladies.
Ah, sure are, you old gooby windbag.
Four flusher.
Months watcher?
Fusty lungs.
Are we gonna do this or what?
So yeah, you got Hertz and Pulitzer having the War of the Yellow Journalism. It was a lot of fun just like looking up like turn of the century slang to kind of come up with that. And then you'll notice in the back of Hertz's office, he has a picture of Rosebud because of course Citizen Kane is based off of him. And yeah, they were in such competition. I was like, you guys just need to get a room.
yellow journalism was in full effect. Crisis is at hand, Spanish treachery. Yeah, what's that small font say? Oh, so you don't really know it was Spain. Main explosion caused by bomb or torpedo.
Highlighting.
Oh my God, you know for sure?
Really want to highlight on this.
Question mark. You can print anything with a question mark. Destruction of the warship Maine was the work of the enemy. Then why are you issuing a reward for the evidence? Is it because you don't have any evidence?
Hello, Ohio.
It's because you don't have any evidence, isn't it? In this headline, it's a quote by then Assistant Secretary of the Navy, Theodore Roosevelt.
Teddy.
In case you didn't know, Theodore Roosevelt had already been a sickly child that manned his way to health, a Harvard-educated naval war historian, a cowboy rancher in the Badlands of North Dakota, the police commissioner of New York City, and at that point the Assistant Secretary of the Navy, where he super-duper pushed for building up the fleet and protecting interests in the Pacific and Caribbean.
Foreshadowing.
That was until war broke out and he said, "Peace, I'm going to war," resigned and started the 1st U.S. Volunteer Cavalry Regiment, or the Rough Riders, because when you're Teddy Roosevelt, that's the kind of thing you do.
Yeah, the Edmund Morris Teddy Roosevelt trilogy. I haven't got through the third one yet. We got through the first one and the second one. I just love learning about Teddy, particularly like, because I'm here, I'm on the other side of New York. I'm on the other side of the Hudson. I'm in Jersey. Yeah, I know. But yeah, when he was when he's police commissioner of New York, they hated him because like he actually enforced the laws and everything. But he was always on his own program. Yes, he was always conniving and, he was always placing himself in. But, he's Teddy. Teddy's got a plan. A man, a plan. Canal.
Anyway, war had been declared against Spain by Congress and signed by vampire-looking President William McKinley, only the 3rd time in American history that war had been declared.
Yeah, William McKinley. Let's see. William McKinley. William McKinley looks like a vampire. Come on. Tell me like that doesn't look like a vampire. Just put like 2 little teeth right there, maybe spiky up the ears a little. William McKinley looks like a vampire.
And to this declaration of war, the Teller Amendment was added that said, "No, we're not trying to make Cuba a colony. No. Well, maybe."
Okay, I didn't purposely set out to do Trump hands, but somebody after they watched it, they were like, "So, were those Trump hands?" I'm like, okay, I can see where those movements are coming from. Yes, I can see how you say that.
So the fighting began on the other side of the planet. The modern U.S. warships, thanks Teddy, pulverized the outdated Spanish fleet at Manila Bay in the Philippines and gave America control of Spain's Pacific outpost. Back in the Western Hemisphere, over 18,000 troops and volunteers were deployed to Cuba under the leadership of General William Shafter, an elderly 300-pound-plus Civil War veteran that mainly sweated like a pig the whole war.
Water.
The fighting was brief, but fierce, with the most famous at San Juan Hill, where Teddy Roosevelt and his band of Rough Riders fought tooth and nail, inch for inch, to finally take the hill and find it was already taken. Buffalo soldiers?
Oh, hey, Teddy.
What are you guys doing here?
You serious? We've been here for a while now.
Uh-huh. Well, this is awkward.
Yeah. Some of your reporters have been waiting up here with us. Hope that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Hey, would you mind taking a photo of me and my men? Little keepsake.
No problem.
Six weeks after it started, the fighting was over. A splendid little war in which only 385 Americans died from combat and another 2,000 died from disease and other causes. It's probable that more soldiers died from rotten canned meat than fighting.
Yeah, so it was not even just like regular sickness, just like sickness from bad meat was deadlier than the conflict itself. Like most of the time, especially in older wars, disease is going to be like the biggest killer. You know, I remember teaching about like Valley Forge, and way more people just died of disease there, and just in general. But like this, and it's tropical as well. But like it's mainly just people dying from diseased meat. But as far as like the war itself, it's a splendid little war.
Wonder if anybody's gonna do anything about that later.
Hey,
and now
the
it was time to
FDA.
end the war with the Treaty of Paris. Seriously, another Treaty of Paris? You guys need to pick a new place to make peace.
Yeah, there's like other cities that you can do this.
Whoa, buddy. I got this. You don't need to bother coming in here. Are you sure? Yeah, just a bunch of legal stuff. Go enjoy your independence. You earned it. I don't know. I kind of think I should be there. Why? I already passed the Teller Amendment saying we're totally not going to make you a colony. Well, I gotta go. Spain's getting antsy. Hey, what do you call this? Hamon? I don't know. It tastes like ham to me. It's delicious. I can't stop eating it. All right, buddy. Here's the skinny. You're free. Spain's completely pulling out. And we're gonna pull in. I got this Platt Amendment that says that I have the right to intervene in you for the preservation of Cuban independence, yada, yada, yada. That cool? Oh, yeah, and you can't allow foreign powers in Cuba for military purposes. Except for us. We get to lease a base in you forever, but you're totally independent. Oh, and do me a favor, tell the Philippines, Guam, and Puerto Rico they're mine now too. Say what?
Hey, and look, we've built an American empire. Yeah, so that was actually about almost 3 years ago on my other channel, Mr. Betts class, and you could definitely see the beginning of like the Drawn of History style there. So it's cool to like kind of share that one with you guys. So why don't I just, before we get out of here, why don't I just kind of share with you what I'm working on now? So we can get rid of, which one do I want to get rid of? No, I want to put on easy capture over here. Okay, so we have our Q&A over here. If you wanted the other way, I was thinking about maybe doing some live drawing, but this has been going on long enough, so we don't have to do that. But the next video will have a ton of different characters in them. It'll return back to the United States, but first it will step off and it'll make its beginning in France. But we will have players like Alexander Hamilton. I was gonna possibly work on his file over here, as well as Benedict Arnold will be part of it. So I was gonna work on his file. I'll probably do that later after I get off with this. The Duke of Gloucester. So we're getting a little closer. A starring part for this girl here named Adrienne, and the beginning, the star of our next project, which will hopefully be out. Will hopefully be out before Christmas. The Marquis de Lafayette. So yeah, the next video is going to be about the Marquis de Lafayette's time in America. So like the first half of his life. So yeah, not the French Revolution stuff, but we're going to focus on him growing up. We're going to focus on and him coming over here and contributing to the American Revolution, the teenager who helped build America, right? So We can expect that in the coming weeks. Coming months. I'm trying to get it, shooting to get that out like the weekend before Christmas weekend. So we'll see if that happens. It's always a busy time of year. But yeah, this is the next project that's coming up. Again, if you want to support the channel, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. Of course, you can always subscribe and share the videos. That's the best thing for getting the word out. You can always check out the t-shirt on ampeduplearning.com. If you just go to ampeduplearning.com and then in the search bar put right side of history, it comes in dark mode, it comes in white mode as well. If that ever switches over to white, whatever, my computer's being really slow because it's been going for a while and it's got Photoshop open. But yeah, you can get that there as well. And you can always check out the Patreon at patreon.com/drawing of history. And if you have anything that you can spare, you can spare. If not, just spreading the word around and making sure that you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button so that when this finally comes out, you get to see it. Thank you, everybody who's stuck around. This went a lot longer than I thought it was going to go, but you guys seemed like you were having fun. I had fun being here with you. I can't wait to get some more content out to you and talk to you a couple of times more before the end of the year. Thank you for all your support. Now, let me get to work. All right. Have a great day.